Om Shanti. Hello and welcome again to our Saturday afternoon talks on spiritual topics. My name is Cassandra Boxler and I'm very glad to be here with you today to discuss the topic of the power of truth. I'd like us to start to tune in to that soul, the being who we are inside the body, and to reconnect with that being. So join me if you'd like to. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Feel your body relaxing and being here. Feel the muscles of the face starting to relax. And let's turn inside. I am a being of truth. I am a being of purity. I am a being of peace. I am a being of eternal love. And as I start to reconnect to this being of truth that lies within me, I can start to connect with the eternal purity of the soul. And it is that purity which we're here to discuss today. So I hope you're feeling strong and connected and safe, and that's very important for the soul within its temple of the body to feel at ease, to feel safe, to feel warm, to feel secure. And how can that really happen in such an insecure world? Well, that strength, that stability, that unshakable, immovable stage that is spoken of in Bhakti is remembered as Angad, the foot of Angad being the unshakable, immovable one. Well, we have to become like that internally. We have to become like that within, so that we can face any difficulties that may occur in the world, in our lives, and that we can face the thoughts and the sort of overwhelming emotions that sometimes come into our own mind and consciousness. So the power of truth, and what does that mean? So you may have heard that there are many truths. Well, in fact, there can only be one. There's either truth or there's falsehood. And so you need to be very discerning and centered within, connected to the central source of energy, the one who is the supreme, the divine, in order to connect with that truth. You need to know who is that being of truth. And so truth of the soul, truth of the supreme soul are connected. They're connected in the sense that God is the divine truthful being, that we need to know who he is and how to connect with him. And that can also bring more purity into our lives. So purity enables us to be truthful. If there's no purity, there's no truth. So how do we become pure, and what does pure mean? There are many religions, there are many organizations and congregations that gather together, and this is called a satsang, a gathering of truth, a gathering of beings who sit together. It's also called a sangat and other various names of gatherings in different organizations. And so when we come together, there's power in that gathering. But really, the company of truth that God wants us to experience, is that divine company that we take care of within the self, within our own mind, and that's our connection between soul, Atma, and the divine supreme soul, Param Atma. And so when we can establish this connection, we can draw purity into the soul, into our being, and we can then start to transform the sanskars that are not true to the soul, that are not true to the self, the divine being inside the body. So when we say there's only one truth and there's only one falsehood, well, there are not one falsehood, there's many falsehoods and one truth. And the main falsehood that we often keep returning to again and again, and that's what keeps us away from God, is that we feel with the body. Now, when we communicate as the body, when we start to connect with the body and connect with others as the body, that steals truth immediately. It steals all purity, because purity of the soul is lost in a moment of body consciousness. So soul consciousness is truth. God consciousness is truth. Now, God is the truth, and you could say, well, there are many routes to find God, there are many truths, there are many ways to attain truth. Well, actually, there's always a method, and that method is the process and the practice of turning within, of Raj Yoga meditation. And this is the meditation that is suitable for these times of instability in the world, and it's something that anyone can practice at any stage in there. It's us closer and closer to the depth of the being within, that is the being of silence. Now, when we're connected to that silence, we can then start to fathom out ways that we need to direct our own lives. And that again comes back to the way that we direct our own thoughts. So purity and truth, it starts from inside, it starts from within the self, and it starts from our own conscious thoughts, words, then deeds, actions, behaviors. So starting with our own thoughts, we have to have pure and truthful thoughts. And that honesty is really something that we haven't been able to attain for various reasons, and the main one being body consciousness and lust and the hiding that then goes on in relation to those things. I'll just tell you a little bit about my background in relation to purity. Some of you may be able to connect with this. When I first came into connection with the teachings of the Brahmakumaris in this birth, I do feel that it was something that I had received in my previous birth, and also in previous lifetimes. I received something that made me nod and realize that yes, this was not new to me, this is something that I recognized to be the truth. And it was quite difficult to accept that celibacy was something that was going to have to help me to connect really with the power of truth, and not just to be able to regurgitate hymns or lines of truth, but to actually be able to experience and give others the experience of that. And so I accepted that that was a very vital and important part of purity, and it was absolutely essential that I manage to overcome my difficulties of the past and the traumas of the past, having had very traumatic sexual experiences in the past. I realised that it was absolutely essential to overcome those difficulties. And when I initially went to ask for help many years ago in 2004, I went to ask for help with that particular sanskar that I felt there's some healing that needs to be done on that sexual level. I didn't really receive the help that I had asked to speak with a particular teacher, and I feel that that really affected me for so many years. I sort of fell in various ways, and as a result I have a child, a beautiful daughter, and she is joy and everything wonderful. I would never want anything less than to have such a beautiful addition and being in my life. She truly is a marvellous joy. However, I just feel that had I received the right kind of help at the time that I had asked for that, maybe I would have led a celibate life for a number of years, and my service journey would have been somewhat different. However, she's here, I'm here now, this is where we are now, and this is what we have to celebrate, and what we have to work with is where we are now. And I think sometimes we do make excuses, and sometimes we say, well, I need to heal this in my body, I need to heal that in my body. Okay, the body does need to heal. The soul consciousness is the key to healing, because if we don't become soul conscious, we cannot connect with the Supreme Soul. And if we cannot connect with the Supreme Soul, we cannot take power to transform those sanskars, which are essential for us to transform the world. Self-transformation leads to world transformation. We can't transform anything or anyone around us. We can be a do-gooder, but that's not the same. That involves a lot of karma, saying I'm helping you and you should be then giving me something in return. And we're not coming from that place at all. We're coming from a place of I am a powerful being, and my presence in the soul conscious state has the power to transform the atmosphere around me. And I love this analogy of the incense stick being waved and wafted in a temple or a home as a devotional practice or activity that's offering the fragrance, the transformation, and that ability to really transform, to connect with something higher that can then allow us to spread that fragrance. It's very powerful, and I love that. I just love that analogy. And I also love burning incense. It's a bhakti sanskar that we love to do as an offering, but that offering is really the fragrance of the self, the fragrance of the truth and the purity within. So I would really recommend for anyone who's thinking about maintaining a pure life and a pure lifestyle to really go deep within and to understand that that is what's going to give me the power, that is what's going to give me the strength to really connect with the divine being, the one who is the truth. And there is one path to truth, but many different variations according to the individual and how they interpret that. So that's where the variation and the individuality comes in, is that we could say, okay, you sit in silence and you can turn within, and how many different souls are going to interpret that in a different way. And that's where the beauty is that that truth of each one's experience can come together. And then we start to see this divine picture